My first PDF was 3 years ago, and I was just starting Countable. I just had sort of the original kind of ideas for it. We were kind of in the early stages of vetting it, and it felt very lonely. I don't know how many of you are on sort of the entrepreneurial journey or the starting a movement journey, but it feels very lonely. And to come to an event like this and to be among so many people who have done it, who are doing it, who are part of it, is incredibly inspirational. And the conversations that I had at that first PDF, many of which were in the hallways, at the park across the street, and just watching the speakers, really helped to clear the path and helped us to identify and have the gumption to go and to start Countable. This week is the Worldwide Development Conference for Apple, which is like being descended upon by so many developers and all working on, sort of how to make the next sort of Force Touch or whatever the new Apple feature is. And I was just thinking, coming here, like, they should all be here, right? This is where they should be. This is the laboratory right now for the future of democracy, for fixing democracy, for making it work. And we need to have all of them here. We need to have all of these ideas here. It's incredible. So I feel so honored to be here 3 years later, to be able to tell my story. And if my story can be helpful, fantastic. If I can help you in your journey, please. And do what I did as you're thinking about starting your own efforts. Reach out to people here at this event. This is like the ultimate collection of people who can fund your idea, who can help to distribute and build support for it, who can give you cautious tales and keep you sort of on track or off track. So use it for that. That's totally it was incredibly valuable to me, to us, in our journey. I'll walk you through our journey. It has some interesting challenges that came about, and we'll go from there. So a little bit about me. I grew up in the Bay Area. I'm a tech worker. And I also grew up in a fairly political household with both a sort of a conservative father and a very liberal mother, and often found myself sort of in between them, trying to make peace or communicate ideas back and forth, sort of across the transom, if you will. And through that, I gained a tremendous passion and belief and hope for democracy. I think we all here share that. It's in the name of the event, right? We want democracy to work, but it's not, right? There's a lot of people who are not participating in this conversation, as we're hearing. A lot of people who don't have a voice, who aren't a part of the dialogue. And that, coupled with kind of a variety of events, which I'll briefly talk through, were sort of the impetus for Countable. In short, the sort of the user experience problem of being able to even know who your lawmakers are and what they're doing, coupled with the decline in journalism and journalism covering government, the rise of millennials as a generation who live on their phones and have an algorithm feeding them news and information, is very troublesome. And so, in answer to that, we created an app and a website, iOS and Android, that would allow for you to be able to peer into that veil of government and be your dashboard, if you will, for democracy. So Countable is an app and a website. We do a few things. First of all, show of hands, how many of you have read a bill? Right on. You are not the norm, just so you know. But you also know how painful it is, right? How unfriendly it is. So one of the first things we did with Countable was we summarized major legislation. We have people who actually enjoy reading bills, shocking as it may sound, and then turning them into something that a sixth grader can understand and read. And then as a next step, you can take action on that bill. You can vote, and you can send a message to your lawmaker electronically. You can participate in a broader community and try to encourage people on both sides of the aisle, everyone is welcome on Countable, to vote with you, to endorse your opinion. You'll get notifications when a vote happens in Congress, all on your phone. Essentially, the ultimate kind of millennial targeted dashboard for action. We also build a compatibility quiz. You can briefly see how you and your lawmakers compare on major issues based on the votes they've taken and the votes you're taking on real issues and pieces of legislation. So, very cool, right? Everybody should have that. Sounds amazing. Not exactly how it worked. So we built this. We were very proud of this, but the masses weren't coming. And without the masses coming, venture capital, investment is incredibly harder to get, right? It's very much chicken and egg. You need the money to grow, and growth is necessary to get the money. We all know this story. It was challenging for a couple of reasons. One, we were trying to get people to eat their vegetables, if you will, at a time when very little was happening in Congress. So go back in time 2 or 3 years ago when we started Countable, and very few bills actually made it to law or really mattered. The bill that was voted on the most in the House was repealing the Affordable Care Act, which obviously didn't go anywhere, and it just kept being voted on again and again and again. So we had a real problem. We were running out of money. We needed to make a strategic shift from a vision standpoint, and really, I mean, it was a moment that could have been the end of the company. We could have said, all right, forget it. We're not going to do it. It's not going to work. We opted not to take that path. We opted to pivot. And by pivoting, we took our technology, the underlying platform that is Countable, which involves everything from contacting Congress to having your voice heard to recording videos and using them as video messages. And we turned that into basically products that we could take beyond our site and our apps and put them anywhere. So over the last year, that's been our focus. We pivoted, and we have been essentially implementing our technology to do some pretty fantastic things. Remember in the beginning I was talking about sort of the change in media and the change in legislation and government and the UX problem. One of the things that we believe very strongly in is taking the moment when you have that sort of passion and concern about an issue and tying action directly to it. So this is a page from KSTP, which is an ABC affiliate out of Minneapolis, that has done 5 Take Action. And they've incorporated direct contact with your lawmakers into their news pieces using us. John Ossoff's campaign is using our technology to collect people's personal stories of why they think you should vote for him. And Citizens United is using our tools to end Citizens United and to directly collect stories from people at the moment when they are ready to deliver them. Phil Murphy's campaign is using our tools to collect people's stories and talk about why you should vote for him, and he won in the campaign. Most recently, An Inconvenient Sequel, so this is the sequel to An Inconvenient Truth, is using our tools and our platform to essentially be an action center around the film and around all the actions related to climate change and the Paris Accords that are coming. Incredible stuff, very cool stuff. We were, you know, after seeing ourselves sort of falling off a cliff, we're like, wow, this is going to be really cool. We now have a way to be a successful business providing real value and sticking to our mission, right? Sticking to our mission was obviously very core from the beginning. But then this happened. So we've seen all various versions of this over the last couple of days, right? This is an extraordinary moment for us all to be here. And this moment of the election, of the inauguration of the Women's March, basically picked up the boat that was Countable and put it on a tidal wave. We grew over 2,000% in a matter of days. People all of a sudden wanted to know what's happening. What's happening in Congress? Congress is voting on things now. All sorts of things are happening. This is a picture of the events that occurred over basically a 4-week period between the inauguration, the Women's March, several key pieces of legislation, all of which were driving people to Countable to say, wow, what is it? What does it mean? How does it matter? How do I get involved? How do I understand this? Because all of a sudden, we're at a time when Congress is doing something, and it matters, and it's important to you, and you need to understand it. And so you're not going to go read the bills, right? And we can't necessarily rely on our news outlets to cover all of these key issues. They're happening all the time. So Countable becomes that place, and is that place that people are now relying on to do that. We also made some significant changes. We went beyond just bills. We hired Andrea Seabrook, who is the former from NPR and Marketplace, former congressional correspondent, as our managing editor. And she basically helps to lens all of these issues, all of these news stories, all of these bills. Yesterday with the Comey hearings, incredible events that are happening. I mean, what an amazing moment for democracy that happened yesterday. An amazing moment. Like, my mind is blown. Send a message grew into call, grew into send a video message to your representative. Make sure your rep hears you and knows what you have to say. So our platform has evolved, our technology has evolved with the moment and with the events of the moment, and we'll continue to do so. We've added the ability to send your own personal video message to the president, and I encourage you all to do that. Talktotrump.org. And you can see what other people are saying as well. It's enlightening, it's tear-inducing. There's some kids in there that are doing amazing stuff. I definitely encourage you to check it out. So we're really trying to be our own little mini laboratory for democracy, if you will. Trying different ideas to drive engagement, and many of them are starting to really work, and that's incredible. So a few highlights. We've sent to date over 8 million messages to Congress, largely through this voting mechanism where you see a bill, form an opinion, you vote on it. 2 million just since the election. 200 million notifications. Those are push notifications to people saying, here's a bill, here's a vote, here's something important happening that you need to know about your government. Comes through it. Over 1 million users on the platform taking action. Incredible. We're one of the top apps in the App Store for news. Imagine that, right? A Civic tech app is one of the top apps that people are using to engage and find information about their government and laws and news. It's incredible. And we successfully recently closed a financing round from Keynote Partners, which has been really terrific to have a traditional kind of Silicon Valley venture firm behind us. So it's been an incredible journey. It's been a very challenging journey, for sure. But I hope it's helpful to see that it can be done. And if I can be helpful in that, please let me know in your journeys. Again, this is a tremendous event, an incredible resource. Please take advantage of it. Please check out Countable and let me know what you think. Thank you all for your time.